Potsdamer Straße here is actually exactly the half point between east and west. It's a north-south linking road. To this day, Potsdamer Straße has this link between high and low, between the Nationalgalerie, which is just 2 blocks up from here, and Kurfürstenstraße, which still has the prostitutes that have been here since the 1920s. So it's fantastic to have both. I like the fact of being able to reconcile these two sides of Berlin. And it also happened that this Tagesspiegelhof sort of became the center of this, even though there had been other galleries in the neighborhood before the Tagesspiegelhof opened 2 galleries. But there's Andrea Murkudis and there's Blaine Southern, Nolan Judin. These are 3 big outfits that bring a lot of people here. I walked in the first time in April, on the 29th of April, in fact, 2011, for the opening of one of the big galleries, and this space was empty. And I found this space very beautiful. It was just big enough to be able to have a gallery, but small enough for it to be at the same time a salon, an intimate setting, very welcoming to me, even though it was sort of gray in the beginning, but very, very welcoming, very. And I said to myself, I had the idea to really open an office here. That was the first idea for my art advisory business. And I said to myself, well, if I get this space, I can not only open an office, but I can also have a gallery, have a showroom, have the possibility to make exhibitions. And this is how it started. My perspective is that this notion of avant-garde doesn't really have a reason to be in the 21st century. The reason is that the great invention, the great development in art between 1850 and 1950. You had coming out of Delacroix and Géricault, who are already quite modern for their time. Well, then you had Manet, you had the invention of photography, you had, I mean, imagine after the great Manet came the even greater Cézanne. After the greater Cézanne came the greater even Matisse. After the greater, I have shivers just thinking about it. And these artists, they were avant-garde. I didn't forget Picasso, obviously. But these artists were being avant-garde not so much by having a notion, we want to be new. It was a raison d'être. They had to write with their own calligraphy, visual calligraphy. They had to write what was happening. And, picking up after Matisse came the American abstract expressionists. I mean, imagine de Kooning coming after Matisse. De Kooning was still figurative to a certain degree, although it's arguable. But then after de Kooning came Franz Klein. And on, you had these inventions that really spearheaded not only the way of painting, the way of seeing the world, but the way of thinking. And come the 21st century, the notion of avant-garde for me is less valid than is the perspective of taking stock, of comparing, of trying to land back on our feet. So the idea here in this exhibition space, as opposed to trying to always show what's new, is actually to develop a new way of looking at what exists. And the way to do that, in my opinion, is to juxtapose contemporary art, contemporary ideas with the past. Juxtapose different works with an underlying theme so that one can discover, for example, in the fertility exhibition, how somebody like Rodin approached the concept of fertility with the Torstadelle in the late 19th century. And then Louise Bourgeois in the early 21st century in doing this, in establishing this dialogue, the idea is then to illuminate one's work by the development of the same idea by somebody else. That's the concept here of the side-by-side gallery. I had that idea before. I've been doing this my whole life, but this is the first time that I do my own. That it has my own name. It's my gallery. It's my idea.